What up, YouTube? Phil here again with another review. If you've watched any of my other videos, then you will know I only review products that I actually own. It's not sponsored or any of that shit. Maybe if I like rent something for a week or if one of my family members owns it, I'll do a review, but it takes me time of actually having a product and using it for a while before I can make these final determinations. So this is my wife's new bike, the velotric breeze1, and I'm gonna have to say this thing is fucking amazing. I'd give it an overall rating of A minus, which for me is very high because I'm a picky bitch. But we'll get into it and talk about exactly why I've got it rated that way and whether this is the bike for you. And if you want that easy answer, if you're like a casual e-biker or even like a light commuter, I think this thing is probably your best bet for the money in terms of what you get. It's super comfortable, it's easy, it's got great efficiency, it's got speed if you need it, but if you want a little bit of exercise, it'll do that too. In fact, it works great as an exercise bike, putting it in the lowest setting, which is probably my favorite thing about it, is that at its very lowest setting, this thing is an exercise machine, which is something that I wish all e-bikes had, is a low enough setting that you actually feel like you're riding a bike and can enjoy it. So let's get into pretty much all them features and how it roll. So going off the handlebars, because that's an easy way to do it, you got the swept back kind of cruiser style handlebars. It's not a super cruiser, it's not a beach cruiser, but it's definitely swept back enough that you're in a very upright seating position. The stem is adjustable up to like 60 degrees, which I think will be enough for most people. It's not enough for my wife and I. We would prefer almost a straight stem, something like 80 degrees, because we really like sitting up straight. We're not going for that aerodynamic. We're trying to engage the core muscles to steady ourselves instead of leaning on the handlebars, and also just to be comfortable, to sit in that upright position. But going along the handlebars, we got the brakes. You have the disc brakes that are hydraulic. You fill them with mineral oil. They're smooth, they're quiet, they're clean, they're powerful. For reference, I weigh about 160. So, braking power may leave a little to be desired if you weigh 100 pounds more than me, but I have found them to be extremely smooth and stable. This here is the actual control keypad, which I've got mixed feelings about. It's got built-in turn signals, which I think is kind of irrelevant, but I'm sure to some people it is. The up and down buttons for power are in the right place, and then you've got three other buttons, one on the top, one on the bottom, and then another one right there, that little M button. It's a little annoying, but once you get used to it, it's really not a problem. I think the most important thing is that you can press this bottom button here for instant power by jumping up to the next power level. You can use the plus and minus for the steps within each level for a total of 15 power settings, 3 levels, 5 steps in each. And the M button mostly is used for menu stuff. So it's very comfortable, solid braking, the grips are comfy, they're easy, it's all pretty smooth. The shifter is decent, it's a hanging shifter, which is cool. I mean, it works right. Press it in for low, pull the trigger for high. Overall, I would say it's kind of what you need if you're going to have the gears on the outside of the bike as opposed to an internally geared system. I do actually prefer it to the one that's built into the handlebar where you like rotate it, or I should say it's built into the handlebar grip. I think that, even though you got to reach a little for this, you're never going to accidentally change gears. So that's an advantage. And the lighting is powerful as fuck. I am really impressed by that. Menu, super clean, super easy. And I'll actually flip through that super quick just so that you can see. Like I said, I'm new to this bike, so hopefully I can remember how to get into it. All right, so you got speed limit here. You can select on pedal and throttle independent speeds down to, I believe, a single mile per hour, which is kind of crazy. Back button is the button on the bottom. Menu is enter. So sensor swap, this is the most important part. You can choose between torque and cadence. Obviously, you leave that on torque because why the fuck would you select cadence if given the option? Some trip data, screen brightness, good shit. Riding mode, let's take a look at this. So you can select between 3 riding modes, Eco, Trail, and Boost. This should not be in the menu because fundamentally you can change those things while riding. You should not ever go into the menu to change them. Rear light mode, this is really cool. So there's 3 different settings. When riding, steady, braking, enhanced, and flash. If we go over here, riding, flashing, that's obnoxious. Braking, enhanced. Riding, steady, braking, enhanced. That's going to be like a car, right? But I like number 3, steady when riding, enhanced and flashing to let people know that you're coming to a stop. All right, auto light. This right here just turns on the headlight and tail light automatically when it senses low light. Very smart. Auto power off. This setting here is how long it takes before the bike goes into standby. Kind of wish that it had more gradients to it. I leave it at 10, but I would have gone with 15 if 15 was an option. In my opinion, this is kind of like if you hop off your bike and you're chatting with a friend or running into a shop to like grab your food pickup order. Do you want your bike to turn off or not? I think 15 minutes would have been ideal, but whatever. Throttle limited. This will limit the throttle's top speed and power for different modes. I leave it on. So back out of that. Cruise control, I have not fucked with this, and I don't want to because I'm scared of what that could do. So let me just make sure. Yeah, cruise control off. Turn signal clicking is the sound that it makes when you turn your turn signals left and right to let you know that you've left them on. I think that's important. Connect to app, find your bike, and set units. I presume just sets between metric. Yeah, exactly. It's metric and, imperial. So back out of that. Sensor calibration is some technical stuff that I'm not going to go into. Version info is just information. So anyway, that's the menu. Simple, clean. It's got everything you need. The mirror here is aftermarket. That doesn't come with it. The bell here is aftermarket. That doesn't come with it. The light is integrated. That does come with it. Throttle, by the way, is one of these push throttles. I don't love it because I don't know. I wish it was one of those, what they call half throttles, where you don't have to, let me turn my mode off so that I can press it. You can press it all the way in, which feels weird to me. I feel like I just want to be able to press it that far to get what I'm looking for, because the throttle is mostly binary. It's mostly on-off. It's not really like, a smooth grade to it. So, tires. Big old road balloons, they're kind of perfect. Honestly, I'm sure they could do very light off-road, like a little bit of gravel or something like that, a little bit of dirt, but these are definitely made for the road, and that is phenomenal because I don't think you would buy a bike like this if you intended to take it off-road. It's definitely not made for that. It's made to be a smooth, powerful cruiser for commuting and casual riding. Next up, we got the brakes. Big old 180 millimeter piston activated, what do they call it? Fluid hydraulic brakes. They're smooth, they're quiet, they're definitely good enough for me at my weight. Battery so far has been absolutely amazing. You can see here I'm on the screen at 28% or some shit like that. I think when we brought the bike home, it was at 60% after people had test rode it and whatnot, had been at the shop. And I've gone on 3 bike trips, 2 of which to work and back, and 1 of which just out on a date. And I've used, 30%. That's ridiculous. Now, caveat there, I like to feel the pedals. I like to get some exercise. So assume that that's the best case scenario because I'm driving in the lowest drive modes, asking for the least amount of power. And also, I live in Denver, which, is pretty flat for the actual city, even though we are known for the mountains. So, going from there, kickstand's in the right place. Pedals don't obstruct it. It's got a nice little rear rack, and that rack can hold the good old-fashioned bike basket. Just zip-tied that bitch on. It's doing just fine. The seat is something that is very comfortable, but I actually think is one of the few areas that could have been improved. In addition to earlier, I had mentioned that stem that goes from 0 to 60 degrees. I wish that was 0 to 80. This is another area that I feel could be improved. A very cheap thing that you can do with a cruiser bike that does not really add much weight is to put in one of those spring-loaded pogo stems. Oh man, those things are awesome, and I much prefer them to the front shocks in terms of suspension, because I think that if you're not off-roading, then front shocks don't really make any sense. They add a lot of weight and they reduce your efficiency and stability, and it's another part that can break easily, whereas a pogo stem for a cruiser is just the world's easiest upgrade. So that might be an aftermarket piece that we go after as well. Heading over to the other side of the bike, I think they made a pretty good call here. It is a 8-speed cassette that goes from, I want to say, 11 to 34 with a front chainring of 46, and I would say this is damn close to what it should be. As you can see here, looking down, there's not a ton of room for the chainring to be bigger. I think that arguably, I don't know, I haven't done the math, but if they could have fit a 48 or even a 50, I think that would have been an improvement. The bike is very powerful, so assuming that you're not quite out of shape, then you'd probably prefer the extra 10% top speed of having 2 to 4 more teeth than you would the added difficulty, especially with all the motor power adjustments and, of course, the rear cassette. You can really fine-tune it when you're riding to get exactly what you're looking for. That said, I actually think the third thing that I would consider a mistake is this 750-watt motor. My guess is that this is more for marketing purposes and also to allow the bike to technically function as class 1, 2, or 3 than it is actually necessary whatsoever. This bike is definitely very powerful. I would never use the highest modes because I personally just don't even feel safe going that fast on a cruiser bike, not to mention it's just an astronomical amount of power. I have done some top speed tests, and I was able to reach top speed without going into the higher level settings. Just from pedaling alone in high gear, in the middle settings for power, I was able to reach the technical top speed of the bike on flat ground. So I don't know if this is a marketing thing. I don't know if this is here because some riders really are considerably more out of shape or are much heavier. But a 500-watt motor definitely would have been enough. Again, I only have my own experience and my own athleticism and my own body weight. But honestly, I would have been fine with a 350. Like, this thing has got the juice, and it's set up well, and the torque sensor accurately matches your pedal input to the motor's output, especially with all the different levels of gradation. So I think that they really overdid it, but hey, maybe this is here for other people, and if that's the case, then okay. I feel the same way about the cadence sensor. I don't know why the hell you would want a cadence sensor on a cruiser bike. You want to feel like you're pedaling, you want it to be smooth and responsive, but I mean, cadence sensors cost, $5. So I assume that they put it in there because for the people who do prefer it, whatever, they can just turn off the torque sensor, turn on the cadence sensor instead, and go with that. So from a marketing standpoint, this bike is extremely marketable. It'll pretty much work for a very wide range of people. I would say that you probably would not want to ride it if you're taller than 6 foot. I have the large frame bike, and it's definitely a medium. We also tried riding the medium. It's definitely a small. So if you're anywhere near a normal size human, between the height of an average woman and an average man, so between 5'4" and 5'10", you're going to want large. If you are shorter than 5'4", or really at that 5'4" mark, maybe consider getting the medium frame. But my wife is 5'5", and she thought the medium frame was too small. So that should put it in perspective for you. All told, if you're looking for a do-it-all cruiser commuter, this is probably the best thing on the market right now for $1,600 something on their website. We declined the fenders. We got it from a local dealer. They put on the rack for us. I'm sure you could bolt it on yourself in 30 seconds. It's pretty basic. I don't like fenders because it's a piece that breaks and rattles and just becomes a fucking bitch. And also, who rides in the rain? I guess if you do ride in the rain, or more likely if you live in a place where puddles accumulate, like if you're riding in Seattle or maybe on like the mid-Atlantic or southern East Coast where you get a lot of rain, then maybe fenders make sense because you're not riding in the rain, but it did rain an hour ago or whatever, so it'll help with that splash. Other than that, I would say this bike probably works for a wide variety of people, anywhere from 5 foot to 6 foot, rider weight, anything up to, I'm guessing, about 250 before you would need, extra build in order for this bike to feel stable. It feels very stable at my 160 pounds, so I'm sure that an extra 100 pounds this thing would still be good. And for those that obviously want a little bit of exercise but also can hit the button to just go fast, 1000% a do-it-all cruiser commuter bike. Velotric really knocked it out of the park on this one. I am very, very impressed. Good job, team.